Testing. Oh, okay. There we are. Good evening, everyone, to board members, staff, citizens. I want to call the Littleton Historical Preservation meeting to order for April 16th. And will the recording secretary please call roll?
Yes. Board Member Fisher.
Here.
Board Member Price.
Here.
Board Member Grove.
Here.
Board Member Spratlin.
Here.
And Board Member Bracey.
Here.
And tonight we have absent Board Member Kastner and Field.
Thank you. The agenda has been posted and presented to the board. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay. So now we need to approve the minutes from the February 28th HPB meeting. Will somebody make a motion and somebody second it?
I move to approve the minutes from the February 28th HPB meeting.
Second, okay. We'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
If you don't mind using the voting board.
Pardon?
Please. If you don't mind using the voting board, please.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carried. The next thing on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comments? We'll see it. While Denise is getting that, I'll give you a quick overview. Public comment is an opportunity to express opinions or ask questions on items that are not part of the public hearings. An immediate response should not be expected, and anyone who would like to speak during the comment section just has to sign in on the sign-in sheet located at the back of the room. And we expect comments to be civil. Disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated. There's a 3-minute time limit per speaker. The recording secretary will hold up a yellow card to indicate 30 seconds remain, and will hold up a red card to indicate the time is up. When your name is called, please proceed to the podium, speak directly into the microphone, and provide your name and address. And we don't have anybody that wants to speak tonight. Anybody change their mind and not sign in? Okay. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is reports from staff. Andrea, do you have any reports that you want to give?
I believe I sent an email out on this, but I'll just say it again, that the brochures for the Main Street Historic District Grant Program were sent out to all eligible properties. And I have received inquiries from 2 people to have a pre-application meeting with me so far, and I'm expecting more.
Wonderful.
Applications are due to the city on May the 7th, and then the board will be reviewing those at your regular June meeting.
June meeting, okay.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Andrea. Now we need to elect a temporary chair in anticipation of our elections. I move to appoint the recording secretary as a temporary chair, and I will need a second.
Second.
All those in favor, you need to vote. Okay, motion carried. So I'll turn the meeting over to Denise.
All right, thank you. And I now call to order this transitional meeting at 6:38 to the Littleton Historical Preservation Board for introduction of our new board members and election of chair and vice chair. I'd first like to invite our new board members to take their seats up front and ask our historical preservation planner, Andrea Memnah, to give a brief introduction.
Yes, we have 2 new members, and alternate 1 is Laura Gabriel, and alternate number 2 is Andy Hill. And I'll note that Andy Hill was unable to make it tonight.
Welcome to the board. In a moment, I will call the roll for the new board. I will then call for nominations for chair, and we'll do a motion, but not nomination. I'm sorry, not a motion, but nominations. This action does not require a second. After all nominations have been made, I will offer the floor to each nominee to provide a brief statement. After all statements have been made, I will ask for a motion to appoint so-and-so for chair for a term of 1 year. A second is required, and then we'll do a roll call vote. This process will end when a nominee receives a majority vote of the Historical Preservation Board, and we'll repeat that for each nominated person, and the same process will be used to elect the vice chair. So roll call for the Historical Preservation Board. Board Member Fisher, and Board Member Field is not here. Board Member Price,
Here.
Board Member Grove,
Here.
Board Member Kastner is not here. Board Member Spratlin,
Here.
Board Member Bracy,
Here.
Board Member Gabriel,
Here.
and Board Member Hill is not here. Okay. So I'm now going to call for nominations for chair.
I nominate Pam Grove for chair.
Okay. All right, that's a nomination for Pam Grove. Do we have any other nominations for chair? All right. Well, with that, we'll close the nominations. Do you accept this nomination?
I do.
Okay, would you like to make a brief statement?
Sure. I would be honored to serve as your chair for another year. I've been on the preservation boards now for 7 years, and have enjoyed working with all of you, city staff and citizens, and have the time in my life right now to be able to devote to the things that we want to do as a group to push forward with preservation. Thank you.
Okay. May I have a motion?
I motion, or
Yeah. Just make a motion, move to
move to
elect-
nominate and elect
yeah,
board member
Pam Grove as chair.
As chair.
I'd
In a
second.
second. Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Okay, go ahead and vote.
And then I'll actually, I'm going to do a roll call vote.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So Board Member Fisher?
Aye.
Board Member Gabriel?
Aye.
Board Member Price?
Aye.
Board Member Grove?
Aye.
Board Member Spratlin?
Aye.
And Board Member Bracy?
Aye.
All right, congratulations.
Thank
Chair
you.
for another year. And I'm now going to ask for nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate board member Price.
All right. Any other nominations for vice chair? All right, I'll close those nominations. Do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Great. Do you want to give a brief statement?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Denise. This is my 5th year on the board, and we have, I think, really transitioned into a very hardworking, effective board over the past 5 years. I'm glad to work with Pam as the past vice chair, and I think we've got a lot of things that we can get accomplished this year, so I'm happy to return as vice chair.
All right, may I have a motion?
I move that we have Mike Price be vice chair.
Okay, in a second.
Second.
All right, I'll do a quick roll call vote again. Board Member Fisher?
Aye.
Board Member Gabriel?
Aye.
Board Member Price?
Aye.
Board Member Grove?
Aye.
Board Member Spratlin?
Aye.
And Board Member Bracy?
Aye.
All right, another year. The great team. And with that, I will turn the meeting back over to Chair Grove.
Thank you, Denise. Are there the next thing on the agenda, any other comments or reports from community development? Do you have anything else to mention?
That's it for this evening.
Okay, and do the members have anything else for the regular meeting that they want to bring up? Okay. Why don't our regular meeting is adjourned, and board members shall reconvene in the community room for a study session in just about 5 minutes. Thank you. assume we're good to go. Let's go ahead and call the April 16th study session for historical preservation order. And what we wanted to do as part of this discussion on our work plan is to go through the work plan, and there's some changes. You will notice that we have a couple projects that Dan took on, so we kind of have to see where everybody sits with those. And then based on what we have, maybe do a little extra for Laura, and then hopefully Andy, our other board member, can watch the meeting, and she can kind of get an idea of what's going on, so we'll kind of elaborate on those. See if there's any changes to ownership, and then see if we want to, if we have any other things we want to add to the work plan. We had a meeting with HLI, Historic Littleton Inc. and the Preservation Board, and we came up with a list of ideas of things that we thought would be good for historic preservation. And then some of them, if we have somebody who wants to lead some of those things, we can put those on the work plan and then let HLI know, and they kind of will go through the same process, because Wednesday they have their meeting and they'll look if there's anything. If not, we'll just kind of keep it as a list of ideas. In that section, there's a lot, and we'll talk about that, about the Littleton Corridor, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but there'll be a working group that will probably handle that, and we will support them as part of events. And we've got some representatives for our group. So does that sound like a plan? And also, I don't want to overwhelm people, but we've got to get an idea. I'm going to give, I've got some sign-up sheets for a couple different things, for historic tours, Western Welcome Booth, hoodlum meetings, and we'll talk about all this stuff as we get along. So, no, I'm going to ask for some commitments. If you can't do it, you can't do it. That's fine. But we need to know, sometimes some years we've had so many people on vacation, it doesn't make sense for us to do a Western Welcome Booth. Or if somebody can't do a hoodlum meeting, somebody might do more than one. So just know those will come around. So let's just start at the top. And on we wanted to promote a Main Street district. And we have been working with property owners over the last many years to move more and more property owners into the district. We now have about 61% of the property owners on Main Street in the district, which is really exciting. And one of the things that we want to address is see about exploring the possibility of moving forward with an all-inclusive district and not an opt-in. And so that's something that Mike and I have been working on and probably will continue to work on and get some guidance from council on if this is how they want us to see this move forward. That's about that. So Mike and I are probably, and just to be aware, I maybe have mentioned before, we can only have 2 preservation board members at a meeting without posting. So that's why we tend to work in 1s and 2s. Historic Building Awareness Program. This is something ongoing. We share historical significance with owners. We help with landmarking. We do community outreach. So this is just something ongoing that we work on, that all of us work on. And there may be opportunities for us to do something specific, but that's on an as-needed basis. The Littleton Boulevard Corridor. We've had a survey that's going to be completed pretty quickly on the Littleton Corridor to help preserve the mid-century modern buildings, all very exciting, and help them landmark it. And what does that look like? Do we landmark? Do we have some districts, mosaic districts? And that project will come to a completion pretty soon. The consultants will have the survey. And we came up with a laundry list of ideas on how to get the survey to people. And what staff is going to do, and I'll let you speak a little bit, this is form a working group to help move this whole process forward and see what ideas we want to implement. And last meeting, Jolene and Kim volunteered to be on that working group. So Andrew, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So we're anticipating that the survey will be completed and approved by History Colorado sometime in July. And it's moving along nicely in the meantime. And And the idea behind the working group, and I think really it was the board and HLI that together came up with it, is to make sure that we have a strategy to get the word out about the survey and that there's no duplication of ideas and create some efficiency work that people are doing. So to that end, the staff, Jocelyn and I, will be looking to create, let's say, a charter that lays out how many members there will be, for example, 2 from HPB and a member or 2 from HLI, and et cetera, and when we will meet and what we are looking to accomplish, and will there be any next steps following ending or something like this. So I expect that you'll hear something in the next 2 to 4 weeks, possibly at your next meeting, possibly before.
It's all very exciting, and a lot of people have put in a lot of work on this. So, and we may support the working group if they have an event and they need people to help attend the event or man the front desk or whatever. That may be where we be involved. But Jolene and Kim will keep us informed and see where we might be able to support.
I have a question. Andrea, did you mention History Colorado approval
Yes.
of that? Is that because they have provided the grant funds?
Yes, so during this whole process, History Colorado works with the consultants and works with staff to make sure that timelines are being met. And as you know, like many grants are, when a certain amount of work is done, then a certain payment is made. So there's a lot of administration of the grant that's being done. And it does need to, the project does need to meet strict standards that's been put together by History Colorado for what a survey is. So we wouldn't want to get to the end and realize that that wasn't happening. So it's happening every step of the way.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Wonderful.
Jim, I can ask a question.
Sure.
Can you explain to me the role of Historic Littleton Inc.? I've never even heard of it before last week.
Just because I've been talking, do you want to?
Sure. Historic Littleton Inc. Used to be called the Second Century Fund many, many years ago, and morphed into Historic Littleton because the name made more sense. They're a nonprofit group that is concerned with advocacy of historic structures and historic buildings in Littleton. And so their task, their board is about 10 or 12 people, I think, in size. I'm the liaison with Historic Littleton. So because we have our charge as Historic Preservation Board, where we're more of a quasi-judicial outfit, and Historic Littleton is more of an advocacy group. There are a lot of things that we do which merge and are in common, and so Historic Littleton will take the lead on many of the projects that we consider important for historic preservation in Littleton, and then we take the lead on others.
So where are they based out of? They're not based out of the city of Littleton,
They're not a city agency.
but they're a non-for-profit. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Volunteer membership organization.
Okay,
And they deal with Greater Littleton. We really focus on Main Street
okay.
and landmark buildings throughout Littleton, but our focus is Littleton. And we're quasi-judicial, they are not.
Okay, okay, thank you. That helps.
To brochure.
You get me one of those.
The next thing is we've kind of formalized our relationship with HLI in terms of who works on what projects and who takes the lead. And one of the very important things they take the lead on is our history tours that we have on Friday nights for First Friday. And we'll talk a little more about that in a minute. And also for Western Welcome. We also have a joint booth we work on together. They do an historic awards program every other year that we often, a year ago we did it, and their president and I as chair kind of co-emceed it. So those kinds of things, but we really specified who did what, so we have kind of a working document. Okay, so we know. Identifying structures for landmark status, that's one thing we've worked on with HLI, this is the whole HLI section. And we've provided them materials and they are making outreach to individual property owners to see if they would like to landmark their property and help them with the process. So that's one thing they've been working on. The next thing is plaques for historic properties in Main Street, Littleton, and we probably need to change this to a sign. A little bit of quick history on it. We thought it would be a good idea to have a sign on historic buildings. Well, Andrea and I last Christmas walked around and found all the buildings in the district had signs on them already. It's, saying that they were historic buildings. So what we decided to do, what we recommended to HPB, the board, and they liked the idea, is why not put a sign in some central location, make a park, that talks about the history of Littleton. And so that's something that we thought would help set the stage for people walking around Littleton. So we were hoping that Amy would take that on, working with staff, and that would be something we could see if we could get some funding on the next budget year, along with a grant to fund. So Amy's going to let us know in a couple days.
Yep.
If she will take that on.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, thank you. So let's put Amy there and let's make it a sign.
And a quick clarifying question, Pam. The grant, would that be the Historic Preservation Fund writing the grant, or where would the grant come from?
Who does a grant come from?
The State Historic Fund.
So it is a state historic fund.
So, we had a caveat here. So typically when we get grants, it's either a certified local government grant or a state historic fund grant. And the certified local government grant does not grant something for a project like this. So I contacted the State Historic Fund, and they have a category for education. And I brought up the idea of the sign fitting in potentially into that category. And they told me that so long as the sign talks about the actual formation of the district and the district itself, it may be considered educational.
So consider them labels as much as signs.
But we would have a pre-application meeting with them and work with them to make sure that we are within the guidelines. And I got a pretty positive feedback, but I would say it's maybe a little too premature to say that this is 100% going to be something that they would fund.
Okay, so we need to do that. Okay.
So that would be the first step. Meet with them and see what they would be looking for under that education category.
Would that be the first step, or would talking to council be the first step?
I'm thinking since we don't get in front of council very often, that we should ask them if they'd be willing to do this as long as
Sure.
we meet the criteria.
Sure, I think that sounds good, Pam.
And then,
Okay.
okay, the grant is due in February, but you can't start on February 1 for a due date,
Of course.
So we need to think about it ahead of time.
Sure.
So, and then I would go ahead and keep HLI because they could help with the copy and working like with the Littleton Museum or whatever, so. But you would be
With the actual signed copy, so it would be the project
manager, so to speak. Yeah, working with. And let me see if I have from Dan those pictures so we can kind of show him some ideas that we have. Case studies for designation. That was something that we came up that actually I was interested in doing. And I thought a great case study would be the family that designated their home recently.
Main Street, is that the one?
Is that the one where the person actually who started the process actually died and it was?
Yes. Was it a woman named Polly?
I don't know, I'm relying on you.
Well, it was a project that Dennis had handled. But
Yes,
I think
yes.
I vaguely remember hearing about it.
Would it be appropriate for you to contact them and see
Sure.
if they would be interested in an interview? And if they have a preference, we could do, and I don't know, we could do a case study, a document, and put it on the website and provide it to people who are talking to others. We could do a video recording. I don't know, what else could we do for a case study, Jolene?
I mean, I think the video is a great idea because people are more apt to watch it than really read all the paperwork behind it. But I think video is a great idea.
Do we have any video capabilities beyond an iPhone, Andrea, that we could tap into with the city?
Yes. We have somebody here who produces videos. The videos that you've seen on Channel 8, we have somebody in-house who works on those.
So my thought would be is to, kind of meet with them and then get bullet points and do something pretty short, like a couple minutes.
2-3 minutes max.
Well, just like everything, I'll need to talk to the communications director.
Okay.
And see if that's falls within their work plan for the year.
And if it doesn't, let's see if there's some other options. So let's start there. So let's put you and me, okay? And the reason that's under HLI is because probably that would be something HLI would use for landmarking.
Oh, okay.
You know, as a support. Oh, here, go to the website, here's a link, you know, nice talking to you, here's a link of somebody who landmarked their property and how they felt about it and why they did it. Okay, next thing is walking tours. Mike, do you want to speak to that and kind of talk about where we are with that in our meeting that we had with HLI earlier today, and then we'll talk about signups.
Sure. Today we met with Margie Clute, former board member of HPB, and now current board member of HLI, and Gail Keeley, who is the chairperson of HLI, and Rebecca Cast, to talk a little bit about our involvement and basically getting a framework for doing the First Friday tours. Last year they were called the Art Walk. Now this year they're going to be called First Friday, and so they'll be the first Friday of May, June, July, August, and September. And there will be 2 tours each night, one at 5 and one at 6. And the tours will be a little different this year than they were last year. Last year we did a south side tour and a north side tour. This year everything will be done from one side of the street, but it'll talk about buildings on both sides of the street, so you can see across the street for a particular building. The tours are designed to last about 45 minutes to an hour, and then they'll end at the melting pot area and the Three Chimneys building down. So they'll start at the courthouse. We'll talk a little bit about the courthouse and Richard Little and how Littleton came to be, and then cross the city ditch and then go down past the railroad depression and then down through downtown. And we'll also do it on Western Welcome Week, which I think is going to be August 16th, I think. It's a Thursday this year.
Yes, 16th.
Just before the parade. And so far we have a great deal of interest from HLI to be the tour guides. And we'll have, I think, very good coordination this year because we've got a point person who will make sure that the tour guides are ready to go. We've got microphones this year, which will help with providing the sound for the tours. Yeah,
they're really good.
Margie brought them in. And then we've got a traffic manager who will help gather the people at the courthouse and take care of signage and things like that. And then 2 tour guides plus an alternate in case a tour guide can't make it that night. So it should be good, and we'd like to get everybody in this group at least to attend one so you can get a nice flavor of what downtown Littleton's like. I mean, many of us sort of have already done it, but it's a fun time. And then if you want to be a tour guide, it's a nice thing to do too. So what else, Pam? What am I missing?
The only other thing that we came up with in terms of if somebody wanted to kind of ease into being a tour guide, that they could maybe tag team with somebody, you know, work with somebody, and you would share buildings, like just plan ahead of time. I'm going to talk about the first 3 buildings. I'll do Richard Little. Then you talk about the next 3 buildings. Whatever. It doesn't have to be anything too formal. So that's an option. So what I'm going to do is pass around a sign-up sheet, and we've been working on it all day. So we pretty much have tour guides. But if you would like to be an attendee, if you would like to be an alternate, if you really want to be a tour guide, then let's see if we can make that happen. You should at least attend 1 tour before you become a tour guide. And then Mike and I kind of signed up, but we're willing to give up to help somebody. We're not going to have a formal training program. So if you did sign up and want to be a tour guide, you would probably need the script, and we can get that to you, and just work on your own, or work with maybe one other person, like Mike and I can help you, or anyone from HLI. But before we had a training program where everybody followed around for the tour. So I'll pass that around. I'm going to pass this to you. I can start this over here with Jolene. And then any questions or thoughts about the walking tours? Also, there's, beyond the scheduled tour, sometimes we have requests from Littleton leadership. So there's more opportunities to be a tour guide than just this. So think about that and say, oh, none of these dates work for me, or I'm not sure if I want to do it, but so there's other opportunities. Another outreach thing we do, the next thing on number 10, is we attend hoodlum meetings. I'm going to come back to you to do that too, Mike. So do you want to talk about what hoodlum is and what we do at the meetings and why we attend and what you get out of it personally to attend? So I'll start this over here with you.
Sure. Hoodlum stands for Historic Downtown Littleton Merchants Association. And it's a monthly meeting, meets the first Wednesday of each month at 8 o'clock in the morning at the Town Hall Arts Center. Usually hosted by Greg Reinke, who is the Reinke Brothers store owner. It is an interesting shop. Anyway, it's very well attended. Merchants from all over downtown Littleton and all up and around the Littleton Boulevard corridor attend the meeting. Typically, there's a city council person or more than one there. We usually go and talk a little bit about what's happening relative to the Main Street Historic District and any activity that's been going on down there. One of the things that we do are certificates of appropriateness, or COAs, and what those are if somebody has a building in the Main Street Historic District, they have to have Historic Preservation Board approval to make a modification to the building, and in one case, to actually construct a new building. So we try to keep everybody updated on what's happening with historic preservation. And from that, we've gotten a couple of feelers for actually landmarking buildings. So it's a very good event to attend. It's nice to meet all of these business owners and property owners and so forth down there. It lasts about 1 hour, and then everybody goes to work. And so, but it's a well designed and a lot of fun meeting to go to.
Okay, I'll start this with you and see.
Okay.
So if you would like to attend, I also put an alternate. Sometimes people can't attend at the last meeting. You can go to as many or as few as you want, and you don't have to be on the spot. I just need to know if you're going to be willing to speak, and usually we can feed you some bullet points so you don't have to kind of come up with them on your own. And that way we don't talk about the same thing over and over again. So the group is not hearing from HPV. Well, we heard about that last month. So we kind of keep it fresh. So I'll send that around and sign up for more than one. The only odd time is July. It falls on July 4th, and Greg didn't email me back to see if they're going to have it or what date it is. So we'll leave that one open. The next thing, number 11, is we have a booth at Western Welcome. A little bit of history on that is that in the past, sometimes people didn't understand what HPB did, so we've done some community outreach and we've tried different venues. We tried the block party, but it's not really our clientele. People are there for different reasons than learning about preservation. But the daytime crowd at Western Welcome does seem to work. HLI comes and brings their brochures. They meet with citizens and talk about what they're doing. So we have set up from 7 to 8 where we go and we get a easy up and a table from the city. So we need somebody with a truck to kind of get in there, set that up, and then we have people manning the booth. And I have 4 people. We probably need at least 2, and it doesn't all have to come from us. HLI is very willing to man the booth. And then we don't man it during the parade from 10 to noon. And if we only can go to 1, we can only go to 1, and we pack up and get our stuff. If we have volunteers that want to stay later, that's great. And it's fun to talk to people and, about that. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this around, and if you can attend, and if we have everybody on vacation, then we need to evaluate. So send that around. Any questions on that one?
I just have one idea I just want to throw out that I brought up before regarding those, in particular that event, is the few times I've done it, you always hear stories about some important place or some person who or their grandfather. And if we do have means, not necessarily like a full videographer, but of a stationary camera built to maybe capture and have consent for that information, it might be something that they might then be able to just take that data or that footage and create something out of. So
Is that something we could look into, Andrew? All right. I like the stationary idea and then just edit it
Yeah, so you might have a list of questions you just kind of run through and have a dialogue conversation that you record and then let someone else edit it.
I wonder, is that something we should partner with the museum on doing? To get like a quick photo booth kind of oral
Yeah,
history
something like that,
kind
maybe,
of
yeah.
deal?
I like that. The only logistical thing I can think of is that we leave the booth. So you would, I don't know how big that camera would have to go with the person to the parade or be
Right.
locked up somewhere during
For
that
those
time.
2 hours.
Yeah, and make sure that it gets from the city to the parade and it's watched, and make sure it gets from the parade back. But it's not insurmountable, it's just something we have to be aware of.
Exactly.
I like that. And that might serve the purpose of a case study and some links on the website to enhance historic preservation. So, I love that idea. It's a great one.
Yeah, will you send that around again, like next meeting? Because I have no clue what my schedule looks like.
Oh, sure. Okay. Or you can email me and I can update it.
Okay.
We do community outreach. City council meets with the citizens at various locations throughout the city, and we usually have somebody at the city's booth. And Kim has usually volunteered to do that. She likes pizza.
Will the city be doing meet, greet, and eats again this summer?
As far as I know.
And then, I'm going to put you back on the spot here. The grant program, and we'll have to take Ted off because he is no longer on the board. So you want to give a quick update on the grant program and where we are with that, and what the group can expect in terms of schedule?
Sure, I think I can. Here is the brochure, black and white in my case, but I think it's in color, isn't it, Andrea?
Yes.
For the actual grantees. So this is the, we're going to do 2 rounds this year, aren't we, Andrea? So first grant.
If funds are still available.
If they're available. In the past, we've done $50,000. The City Council designates $50,000 per year for eligible projects in the Main Street Historic District or buildings that are landmarked near Main Street. So we've had okay utilization, I would say, but not great. It's been difficult for many of the property owners to get their contractors in line and online to get the work done in a timely manner. One of our best recipients of the funds has been the Masonic Temple at the end of Main Street. And they've basically tuck-pointed their whole building in the last 4 years and built a new front porch and a porch cover, or I guess supported the cover that they've got there. But it's a great little program, and on the you can see how the funds are designated each year. So we'll expect to have grant applications to Andrea by May 7th, and then I think we'll review them at our June meeting. And the potential recipient must attend to be eligible for the fund. So if they show up, we rate them, and if they're new to the district, especially this year, that helps their chances of successful receipt of the funds, or being awarded the funds anyway.
And I think different from last year, we'll get a packet so we can all review this well ahead of time. And then we get to ask the applicant questions. That we will review them and make a decision in the same night.
Yes.
Which is different. Before, we've heard from the applicant and then discussed at the next meeting, but because we're going to potentially have 2 rounds if we have enough money, we will do them on the same night. And also, very exciting, when we have awarded funds and for some reason that recipient was unable to use the funds, we've lost it in the past. And now the city's going to set us up with an account that we can carry from year to year. And we don't have access, we have to go through protocol, but at least that money will be set aside, and if that is not used within a time frame, as you can see here, then it will go back into the fund and we can reallocate it for a second grant. So before we had to have it attached to a PO, which a specific project, and if that project didn't happen, we kind of lost the funds back to the general budget. So now this year we can carry it. At some point, we can't carry it forever. And at some point, council may say, well, you have $50,000 in your fund or allocated or earmarked, so we may not give you some this year. So we have to think about all those pieces, but that's fine. We just want to get people to utilize it, and if they're not going to utilize it, we want to direct it to an applicant who will.
How long do they usually use the funds? A year?
What did we say now?
So before it was a year, and then they could ask for one extension. And this year we're doing 18 months because we found that we were giving a lot of extensions. So why not give it 18 months, and then there can be one extension of up to 6 months.
But they have to go, there's some hurdles they have to go through. In other words, and I can't remember what they are off the top, but they have to show intent by a certain, like within 3 months. So they just can't keep putting it off. And
we're requiring that they submit for a building permit if the building permit is required for the work. If not, for example, painting, that they complete the work in a certain amount of time. So the more complex projects.
And at least they started it, and Andrew will go by and look and see if it started.
Yes.
Did everybody get a chance to sign up for the historic tours? Did it make it this way? Okay, let me say that. Any other questions? So that's what's happening with the grant program. And Mike's been kind of heading that up, so are we still good with that? You working on that? And after we have these grants, there probably won't be much to do. There's some things that staff works on. No, excuse me, we're not at staff yet. So we wanted to have a list of vendors or builders who specialize in historic properties for homeowners and business owners if they want to make updates. And we didn't want to recommend them because we didn't want to go through a vetting process, but we thought we would do it like Denver and just put a disclaimer that these are people that have applied to be on the site and you can vet them yourself. Dan Miller was working on that. He is off our board. He's on Planning Commission now. And he sent me an email that said he can't get into the Denver site because you have to be a member. So I don't know if there's a way that we can look at what they have.
I have a friend who's on the Historic Denver board. I can ask her.
Okay, is that something that you would want to go so far as take on, which would be work on getting that, or is it just something you want to do some fact finding? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. You're brand new.
I have no clue.
All right, well, why don't we, I'm going to put your name and we may switch.
Okay.
And see if you can get in it and at least get us a sample, some screenshots so we can see what it looks like so we can replicate it. And then we'll decide what to do. Do we do a call to be on there? Do we promote it in some way? Whatever.
So you'd like a list of who's Historic Denver or how they do it?
How they do it.
Okay.
Right.
The state at one time had such a list, and they may still, so we can look for that too. I know where to look for that.
Okay, so I'm going to put Laura and Andrea. And
I
maybe
will say that I have told applicants, I've suggested that they go to that website because I've often asked, all right, now I got my COA approved, who do I find? So I sent them there, but in looking there, I noticed it wasn't always up to date from year to year.
Oh. So maybe that needs to be something.
It's really an ongoing project that needs some work.
And I don't know if I think we have it as a medium priority, so it's not one of our highest priorities. It's just something we'd like to move forward. So if that's something that maybe you could work with Andrew on a process to make sure it's updated, or maybe we just link to the state. I mean, it could be something simple.
Linking to the state.
You know, the one that's open, obviously not Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, it could be something simple to start and then evolve. One of the things that we talked about that's kind of on an as-needed basis is meet with other preservation boards and do tours. I mean, we could invite somebody for one of our tours from another preservation board. Years ago, we went to Arvada, just a small group of us, on a Saturday, and saw what they were doing, kind of had something with the board members. So if anybody hears of another preservation board that makes a contact and wants to open it up to the group, it would be more than probably two of us, hopefully. So we would post it, and anybody could come. You know, I mean, a citizen could come if they wanted. So something to keep in mind, nothing we have to jump on right away.
Can I interject? I've had an idea that's come up in the past.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that anyone's ever done it, but I think it is may be helpful if the board would like to see how other communities handle a public hearing.
That's an idea.
Two at a time, you know,
Uh-huh.
rather than sending one. And
If
we
we-
can look into other boards. I've got a contact in the state who's familiar with them, and see, you know, a board that perhaps is different than ours, just to get some ideas.
Okay, let's put that on, attend other
HPV meetings, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put you on, I'll say all and Andrea. You're getting your name on here. One thing we've done in the past is we've done some work on alleys, trying to encourage property owners to develop their alleys. And we've seen this with the View House. Who else has done this? The alley. And they have a garden, a beer garden in the back. It's been great. From what I understand from the camp, which is CPI is a statewide conference that new members as well as continuing members can go to. And the city usually generously offers to pay the expense for us to attend, which is not cheap. And we can go and learn about preservation and get some education. At the meeting, there was nothing about the alley projects. So I don't know if it's something we want to drop. It's kind of sexy, but we haven't done much with it.
Keep it on, just so we don't lose it.
I agree. Should we put it
Yeah.
low?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to do some more research into it and maybe see what findings and examples I can
Exactly.
find.
Okay.
And, you know, at some point in the future, maybe make a little presentation or, you know, discuss it further with some more information about it.
Can I take Mike off and put you on, or do you want to share it with Mike?
Whatever you would like.
And let me make a note, because have you seen the, I'm taking you off. Do you want to take off?
No.
Or do you want
Coming over.
Okay, I'll leave you on. I just think you're so overloaded. Do you want to share with him, do you have an e-copy of Sharon's presentation?
I do.
Why don't
Do
you
you
look at
have
that?
No, I don't have it, but I
Yeah,
remember
let me show you that.
I'll let you take care of that. Okay, sorry to take you off when you didn't want me taken off.
Sounds good.
And then it's a very sexy project, and maybe something that we do on a, you know, one-by-one basis. Like if a COA comes up, we might say, hey, have you thought about enhancing your alley, you know, to make it more friendly for walking and artistic. Some of the rest are staff projects. There's a suggestion that maybe if there's a professor that has a student or that wants to do an historic preservation project, you know, we reach out to them. The city updates the website on an ongoing basis, and maybe we make suggestions when it's time to update it, that we update our section, like maybe with some links to the state, some simple things or whatever. One of the brochures, we have a one-pager which I'll need to send to the new people, but I don't know, everybody might not have it. It's just a one-pager on what is historic preservation, what is HPB, a little bit about HLI, and what we're going to do is we do this when we have our tours, we can hand it out. When we have a meet and greet, we can also hand it out. We might hand it out at Hoodlum, I just thought of that. Yeah, so Andrew's going to do a little bit of editing and then get it out to us in time for our first tours on May 4th. So just so you know, so maybe we'll wait and send it to everybody then. We don't need the old version. And so it's just a high-level brochure, and then eventually we're going to make it more of a tri-fold, something like this. We're going to, this is a brochure about if you want historic preservations for those people that want a landmark. So they're going to look at some branding, maybe unify them like this. So that's kind of something staff's working on for us. Signs, obtain an entry sign for Arapahoe Hills. I don't know where we are with that, if anywhere.
I don't believe we are anywhere. You know, it occurs to me, I believe that there is a sign that is, it needs repair.
Okay.
And per our sign code regulations, a subdivision can actually only have one sign. So we'd either have to repair that one or replace it.
The original looking sign there?
Yeah.
We need to repair or replace, okay.
The city has money to work on that for them. I just wondered, I wonder if they could apply for a grant for that.
Or they may have fees from their HOA that they might want to work with the city. They usually have money whether they want to spend on the sign or not. I mean, my HOA has the sign and they fund it, I think.
There are some other grants that the city has besides the Main Street Historic District grant. We could look into whether one of those might possibly fall into a category that could win a grant.
Okay, well, yeah, so that's not a really high priority, but something we're working on. We are going to have a meeting with City Council. That is a week from tonight? No.
Yep.
Tuesday, isn't it? Tomorrow night. It's 2 weeks from Tuesday.
What's the one Monday night?
That's with the Planning Commission. So there's one here at 6:30, right?
Yes.
And that will be...
On the design guidelines.
Which somehow I skipped it. I'm sorry.
Oh.
David's working with the design guidelines, so let's talk about the meeting with planning, and then we'll talk about the meeting with City Council. So why don't you tell us about the design guidelines and kind of bring everybody up to speed on where we are with that?
Yeah, so we were tasked with this committee to really take the existing, 300-400 pages, maybe more, of design guidelines.
Big.
And basically condense it down into a much more user-friendly document. At the same time, look at ways to convert some of the guidelines to standards. So as we're going through it and not only reformatting, but then looking at how we could actually make that case for certain standards to actually incorporate as a guideline, or guideline as a standard, sorry. So we had several different tech meetings. I think we had our first full draft, our past meeting, and now it's opening up to present to some of the boards and to the public.
David is kindly using his expertise and getting support from his company to come to those meetings, which are often during the day, aren't they? And so it's a big project. And if you're in downtown, and you're in the historic district, you either go with the historic guidelines, or if you're not, you go with the downtown design guidelines, which will be standard. So they're governed by that. So thank you, David. And then the next meeting is Tuesday night at 6:30. So we meet as part of a study session. So it will be televised. There can be people in the that are watching, but there's no public comment during a study session. And next Tuesday at 6:30. And we're recommending that the agenda be, and we still have not gotten approval, but you'll see it, is that we start out with asking for co-funding for our sign. And we don't want to spend too much time on that, just a few minutes. Talk about exploring the option of a all-inclusive district, a downtown district. And then if there is any time, and then the big thing will be the comp plan. That actually will go first. And the city council is coming up with a comp plan, a vision for the city, and how do we fit into that? Because part of it is downtown Littleton. And so they'll help us understand where we fit into that, and that can guide some of our strategic thinking. So that would be really good. So that'll be probably a good portion. Then we'll talk about signs. We'll talk about asking for their support in exploring a all-inclusive district. And then if there's time and they have any questions of us, they may ask about the Littleton Corridor project. They may ask about the grant program, and we'll just kind of make it very off the cuff. It's very informal. There'll be no PowerPoints. It'll be all discussion. So Amy will talk. Mike will talk about the all-inclusive district. I'll talk about the all-inclusive district, and then staff will jump in. We'll jump in on Littleton Corridor if they ask. If they ask about the grant program, we'll tell them that. In the past, we've done more, this is what we're working on, and do you like it? But now we're asking for some direction. And it's been a while since we met with City Council, so we're anxious to, kind of build that rapport with this new council, relatively new, 6 months old. With this council, have them better understand what we do and get some direction from them in terms of the comp plan and some of our initiatives. And the next thing is the grant program. So we talked about that, number 22. The survey, the Littleton Boulevard survey, we talked about that. So that's kind of our work plan. We've made some changes. We've added some tasks and made some changes to who will be the project lead. So thank you, everyone, for volunteering additional time. And then now I'd kind of like to turn to some of the ideas that came out of the HLI meeting and see if there's anything that we would like to either put on our work plan for now or in the future, or would like, if there's somebody that's really excited about that project, that's something that they would like to work on. So one of the things we talked about, I'll just kind of run down the laundry list. We talked about contacting Kimberly Lanning, Arizona. She has a preservation program. It was very difficult to get it started, and she's done a good job. So that might be somebody that we want to talk to, maybe bring in and talk to the community. One idea that came up. And then we have a new HPB member who works for the government, right, and on the Main Street program, so there might be something there that we could leverage.
Not sure who that is.
Isn't that Andy?
Oh, I wondered that, but I didn't know that.
We might want to have a community workshop to discuss preservation and landmarking, and that could take any type of form. It could take a specific project. We could add on to a meeting, to an outreach meeting. We could have brochures. We could have one-on-one meetings. We could, and I like this idea. It requires work, but it may be easier than we think. We used to have an education program for us. So if somebody came and talked, we tape all our meetings. We could, maybe cut out a piece and have it as an awareness thing, as a video on the website or something along those lines. So that's something to think about. Landmarking. We could have a nominating group. That might be something working with HLI. We could speak to special interest groups like the Chamber, Hoodlum, Realtor groups. Maybe we kind of promote landmarking and pass out a brochure to Hoodlum meetings or anybody that would know somebody there. We could have an outreach day, and we really like this idea where a group of people would come together and kind of look at a list of properties, and we have a list, and see if they know anybody or would want to approach somebody and talk to them about landmarking. So that's something that would require some training and some logistics. The case study, we talked about that, which has kind of made it on its way. So that's one thing that's made its way on the work plan, or maybe it's David's idea, where we have a video of people and we just do clips. So either way, I think that would be great. HLI members continue to work with owners to landmark their property. And so that's happening. That's ongoing. And we've got that on here. And there's a couple different properties that they're working on. We talked a lot about the Littleton Corridor, but let's let that working group decide what ideas make the most sense.
What is the Littleton Corridor defined? What are the boundaries of the Littleton Corridor?
Why don't you tell them, just so I want to be technically correct.
Yeah, so generally it is along Littleton Boulevard with a few properties off of Littleton Boulevard, and it runs on the east end from Broadway and then to where it goes down to Main Street, and what we're calling sort of the greater Littleton Boulevard also includes going down Main Street a little bit and up Prince.
Okay. But it starts at Broadway.
Yeah, and I can send you a map. In fact, I can send you a couple of things so you can catch up on the Littleton Boulevard.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay.
If you would send that to all of us, so we have that, and also Andy too, that would be great, because I would have not defined it correctly. I would have just saw the courthouse to Broadway, you know.
Andrea, do the consultants have an electronic copy of the presentation that they gave to us? That we could,
I believe so.
well, if they do, that would be great, because there's 22 buildings that they've identified as Tier 1 buildings.
Okay.
From a couple of buildings on Prince all the way to Broadway.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll send that out. I believe I may even have a copy of that, but it would also be helpful for anyone who didn't make it to watch the tape when they came and presented.
No, true. Yeah, that's right. You could do it
Oh,
that
that
way.
would be great.
That is commentary with it.
So you're going to send that to
We already have it. You're right.
Littleton Boulevard presentation and map. And I'm going to put, you're going to send out, you want me to look at it first, but if I could just bruise through the one page and then you'll send that out to everybody.
Yeah.
Rather than sending them a copy that's still a work in progress. Okay, perfect. Let's see, what else do we have? Some other things down the road, and this is just really future. We came up with ideas of maybe we landmark certain districts in Littleton, like certain residential districts. I think we have other priorities right now. Let's see. There were some studies that Rick Cronenberg recommended that might be good. And so I don't know if any of those ideas are things you think we should put on the work plan. The only thing right now from that meeting, or that we talked about in the meeting, was the case study / video. And if there's anything else that we think we should put on the work plan that we feel like it's something we want to keep our eyes on right now.
12-step program.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I incorporated it.
Oh, you did. I think I was just looking at my own. I think that visiting the HLI website, I mean, that doesn't have to be on the work plan, but I think that would be really good to view the video of the endangered places. The HLI website.
I can put that on.
And that's just an ongoing thing that
Yeah.
we all ought to look at.
It's a good point, though.
It's a good history. Laura, that was the March 19th meeting. If you wanted to go back and watch the presentation that the consultants did, I forgot that was on TV. Yeah, it was good because there was interaction. And
Yeah.
the consultants had something to say about every building.
And then we're talking about the Littleton Corridor.
The Littleton Corridor, yeah.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, it was a very good.
I'll see if I can send out the presentation and also the link right to the video, because it takes a little while to find that, so.
Okay, thank you, that would be great. Okay.
All right, so I will let HLI know that one of the things we're looking at is the case study, and see if there's anything else that we talked about that they might just let us know that they want to move forward with. That's all I had. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
That's it for me.
You should put Laura on the spot and have her introduce herself.
You know, we never did that.
What would you like to know?
Just tell us who you are, what your day job is, why you were drawn to come to us, and we should all do that so Laura gets to know us a little bit more on a more formal basis. And I apologize if we didn't do that sooner. We kind of introduced ourselves individually.
Fine. I've lived in Littleton since, I was telling Mike, since April Fool's Day 2000. We bought a house that should not have bought, that fell apart around our years, and we've been renovating for 18 years, but we love it in Littleton. I have 3 daughters. One is 33, and she and her husband and my 2 grandsons live a mile from me. We have a middle daughter who's 30. She lives a half a mile from us. And then we have a trader who's 23 who lives over on I-25 in Bellevue. So we have 3 girls are all out of college, so we're empty nesters. And my day job is, my husband would say, I kind of just fool around and read books, but I actually do, I buy and sell antiques. I have a partner that we do sales twice a year. And I do some design work on the side, and I mostly be a grandma and a mom and a wife, and that's about it. Other things, we used to live in the Highlands District of North Denver. So my interest on being on this committee was so that that Littleton didn't turn into what the Highlands looks like right now. We lived there for a long time, and I love the historic. I liked preserving everything that was good about North Denver. You know, the little tiny stucco houses to the big mansions, and the same thing about Littleton. I love what looks like Littleton to us. It may not look like historic to other places, but what makes Littleton unique is what I wanted to preserve, and that's why I wanted to sit on this committee. So that's me. If you have any questions.
Thank you and welcome. And why don't we go over to David, if you tell us a little bit about yourself so Laura can get to know us, and hopefully Andy will watch this and get to know us a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. So David Spratlin, I'm a Colorado native. Moved to Littleton when I was in 2nd grade. So I've been here for most of my life, except for a few years for college. I went away. But I'm an architect here in Littleton, actually, for a small design build firm that does construction all around the state, and a few projects out of the state every now and then. 2 boys, and I think that was part of what kind of drove me, is thinking about just how vibrant downtown Littleton is, what makes it special, and so the character unique. I want to make sure we preserve some of the things that sustains that going forward.
Sonia, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I've been here for 100 years. I've been here since 1956. My former husband was with Marathon Oil for all the time that they had that lab out on South Broadway, which is now Littleton Village. And I've been interested in preservation for a long time, and we started our historic Littleton as Second Century Fund at one of the Littleton leadership retreats a number of years ago. And the year of the Littleton Centennial, actually, we decided that we could perhaps help to get another 100 years out of the Main Street area and so forth, or try and help do that. When it was first set up, there was no financial arrangement for people to do historic preservation on their buildings, and we had several bankers lined up with a hope to provide low-interest loans. And really the only thing that we did, I think, is the block for it. That's the old Coors building. We did help with that. At that point, Littleton went into a program with the block grants and setting up a preservation board. And then we switched into just a membership organization. But the original plan was to try and provide financing for people, and that was not hugely successful. But anyway, I've been around on trips that I'm sure you've been on too, to try and convince owners to get interested. And I get the, what if I want to knock it down and make a parking lot? But I've been secretary of the HLI board for a long time. And you're all welcome to come meet with us if you have. We meet on the 3rd Wednesday about 4:15. It varies. Somebody could contact me about where it's at my house this week, and anybody is welcome to come. We don't do anything very fancy, but Gail Keeley, our chairman, is a professional historian and does surveys such as the kind that they're doing on Littleton Boulevard now, Diane Tomaso. She does that same kind of thing. Her special area of interest is I-25 corridor, I think, but very knowledgeable anyway on how all these things work, which is wonderful. And she used to be on this board, was I think one of the original members, wasn't she? So I have 4 kids and 9 grandchildren and live in a house that's way too big for me, but I don't want to leave in Aberdeen Village, which I still think maybe should be a historic neighborhood if we could get Anyway, perhaps some individual homes. Diane's making a fuss about the French architect who did design a building on Littleton Boulevard, and there are 4 in every village that he designed as well. That might be another place to start. I'm also working with Sally Parsons about their house, which I think is an eligible designated house. I think she's willing. We need to go another round. She had to talk with her boys and so forth.
Thank you for your help with that.
So,
I appreciate it.
Hoping we're making progress on that. I spent 16 years in downtown Littleton as a merchant with a bookstore in the house that Liz Eaton and John Gherkin are in now, which Mike is working on it.
Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah.
Andrea, do you want to give a little bit of your background?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm historic preservation planner these days, and I've worn some different hats during my 14 years here. I've done development review and mapping and a little bit of long-range planning too, and now I'm back to historic preservation. My background is actually in urban geography. Got into planning.
And she's our support person and our liaison and helps us with our projects.
All done? Okay. I'm Jolene Bracey, and I have a new job. So I am the new Business Development and Marketing Director for Simon Property Group's new Denver Premium Outlet, which is being built up in Thornton. And I start a week from today. I've lived in Littleton for about 2 years, but have been coming out here since the mid-'80s. I have family out here and have been coming out to visit. And so part of my reason for doing this is to see that charm and that love stays in the community that was here the first time I saw it. And yeah, my kids live in Texas. They're grown-ups. And I have Daisy. Daisy is the official people greeter at dog parks everywhere. That's her claim to fame. She doesn't play with the other dogs. She wants to play with the people.
Thank you. Congratulations on your new job.
Thank you.
I'm Amy Fisher. I am a Colorado native, just like you, born and raised here in Littleton, went away for college and worked for a while. Came home about almost 20 years ago. I am formally trained to be a librarian and archivist, and I've worked as an archivist for many, many years. Right now I work for Douglas County Libraries. I manage a small branch library with Douglas County Libraries, and I was previously on the museum board for 9 years, and this is I'm starting my second year on the Historic Preservation Board. When I was in 4th grade, like a lot of Littleton kids, I did the museum summer program with Bob McQuarrie and knew right then and there that I just wanted to have something to do with Littleton and history in Littleton. And what I hope to bring to the board is to find the right balance between growth and development and preserving what makes Littleton different than every other suburb of Denver.
Thank you. I'm Pam Grove, and I've been on a historical preservation board. I think this is going into my 8th year, so I have 2 more years before I'm term limited. I like history. I like working with downtown Littleton and feel like we've helped with the revitalization, which has just been going up, and the economic growth, and we've done our part to make sure that it keeps that small town kind of look and feel. It's so unique in the Metro Denver area. And my day job is I get to do anything I want, which I enjoy. I have lived in Littleton since the 80s. And my children also are grown and doing their own things.
Mike Price, been in Colorado since 1972 and the Littleton area since 1983. Moved into Littleton itself in 1990 and have been active in real estate development, real estate lending, purchasing and renovating and restoring old properties, mostly in Denver in the 70s and 80s. and have 3 grown sons who are in, one is here with 2 grandkids, and then one in Boise and one in San Diego, and then we have a 20-year-old daughter. And historic preservation has always interested me, and so this was a wonderful opportunity. This is my 5th year on the board, and it's been a wonderful group to be associated with, and the interaction that we have with HLI is a real blessing. So I'm just glad to help.
Thank you.
And we're glad you're here.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
Yes.
I'm a little overwhelmed. There's a lot more than
Yeah. Believe me, don't rush yourself. It's drinking from a fire hose. And it will start making more sense, but initially there's a lot to learn. And thank you for having training with Andrea, so that helped you get started. We're here to answer questions and make you feel comfortable, along with Andy whenever she's able to join us. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Anybody wants to bring up before we adjourn? If not, let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting of the April 16th Historical Preservation Board. Thank you.
Thank you.